Hello, gamers from around the world. This is Boxenberger, the video game enthusiast from Germany, and I would like to welcome you to today's Age of Empires special episode. Yes, today I get to talk as much as I want about Age of Empires 4 and 2, and nobody can stop me because it's one of the biggest news items of the week. But before we're gonna do that, man, the Wandering Dutch, how you doing, my friend?
Yeah, I'm good. I have, of course, everyone's probably tempted if they have Call of Duty pre-ordered to jump over and get a quick plane ride over to New Zealand to play the co-op. But
Oh, sweet.
not the co-op, the multiplayer. But I'm refraining from that because I think that'll come with a lot of ping issues. So I'm just going to wait until midnight and then enjoy multiplayer as a midnight launch, like it should be.
That's cool. That is cool. That is cool and good to hear you doing good. Welcome also to everyone who is already here. The chat is filling up with a lot of familiar names. Welcome to you guys, but of course also a big welcome to everyone who listens after the fact on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, wherever you're listening. Welcome to this week's World of Gaming. It's going to be an exciting show. Honestly, it's not just because Age of Empires, but it's like this week was made for me, man. They announced the remake of The Witcher, which I'm super excited about. We're going to talk about that, of course. And they also teased the Witcher 3 next-gen patch a little bit. We will get to that in a second.
And then we will... Somerville.
Yeah. Oh, sweet. Absolutely. Yeah, that dropped earlier. We will talk about that. We will talk about Xbox earnings reports. We will talk about the big Phil Spencer interview. A lot of cool, interesting statements, not just about the ABK deal, but about a couple of other things as well. We'll talk about Dragon Age. We got some really interesting Dragon Age news about Fallout, about so many other things. Discord on consoles. We have a couple of updates there. So there's a lot to talk about. But first, I need to apologize to our very good and generous friend, Drawn TJ, because on Tuesday's special episode where we interviewed Keokin, makers of Deliver Us Mars, I missed a super chat. And I feel terrible about that. When someone uses his or her hard-earned money to support us here, Dutch, and I just forget to shout them out properly. So I want to do that right now and apologize again. Dronty Chase has sent in last Tuesday a super chat where he said, "Hi and good morning, and I hope you're doing good, man. Thanks again and apologies again." But, Dutch, with that, I want to get to our segment that we call the Games of the Week. Yeah, we won't hear that jingle for too long anymore. I already came up with 2 new jingles. I need to make a third one, and then we're gonna do an entire rebrand of the world of gaming. Yeah, we get new logos, new backgrounds, new overlays. There's a lot of change coming.
Nazi.
Yeah, you've seen some stuff. But it's not done yet. So hopefully next week, if not the week after. But so don't get too used to these old jingles. But that's not the discussion point here, man. I want to know, not just from you, Dutch, but I also want to know from the community, what have you been playing?
Yeah, so for me specifically, I haven't been playing that much this week. Obviously Tuesdays we stream and play Sea of Thieves with the community. So obviously I've been playing Sea of Thieves as usual. A little bit of Call of Duty. I'm going to finish the last mission just before later on tonight, just before the multiplayer goes live. So I'm going to finish the game off then. And yeah, I think that's actually it this week. I think it's just been a little bit of Call of Duty and some Sea of Thieves. I haven't really had a chance to dive into anything else. I haven't even been back onto Plague's Tale yet, and I need to finish that up.
Oh, you definitely do, because we need to have a chat about the ending.
Yes, yeah. I'm about halfway through. Again, it's not to say I'm not enjoying it. It's just being distracted and all being at work. So
That's how it goes. That's how it goes. Let's see here. Siki in chat has played. He said he hates JRPGs, but he's loving Persona 5 and also playing Medieval Medieval Dynasty. That's very cool. Then we have Game Pass Weekly playing a Plague Tale, which is so good. He's right. He is absolutely right. And Wolf of Darkness plays Overwatch 2, Call of Duty, and Scorn. Great choices here. Yeah, man. And we need to shout out our friend Sith Lord. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. He says, my favorite Age of Empire and other stuff podcast.
yeah, what it is today.
That's what it is, especially today. I was actually thinking about calling this the Age of Empire special episode because
just the Age.
We have so much to talk about. The world of Age of Empires, you know. Oh yeah, man.
We're gonna have to get the Age devs on. I know you'd be in your element then.
That would be awesome, man. You bring up a great point. I need to reach out to them. We're gonna do that.
Make that happen. I don't see why not.
Yeah, it's probably what it is. Yeah. So yeah, I've naturally been playing, of course, Age of Empires. And you guys get to watch a match of mine in a second. But besides that, I've been dabbling around actually in Grounded a little bit more, which is also a lot of fun. And I actually went back to my Switch because during my summer holiday, I started Zelda Link's Awakening, the remake, again, and I intend to finish it a second time. It's really good. So yeah, that's basically what kept me busy. Let's see here. Wolf of Darkness plays a Plague Tale 2. So yeah, and Siki is excited for Age of Mythology. That's the spirit, man. So yeah, the community also always plays some really good games. Overwatch 2, I see that mentioned in chat a lot. I have yet to play it. I have downloaded it, but I don't know. I just didn't have the urge to start it yet.
I was muted there.
You were muted. Yeah. So what were you about to say?
Frantos here said whilst he was in hospital, and I'm glad to hear you're out now. He was playing Metroid Dread on his Switch as well. So he's loving the campaign in COD now. He's home.
Yeah. Shout out to you, man. Glad you are out of the hospital again. I had no idea. So yeah, but Metroid Dread, fantastic game. It's really good. Played that earlier this year. Yeah, man, good stuff here. Good stuff. So let's talk about the news of the week. Almost like an old school jingle.
Now you've heard the new one.
Now that we have heard the new one. So there we go. Yeah, guys. Age of Empires, one of the biggest news items of the week, of course, at least for me. And since we are running the show here, Dutch, we get to decide what is the biggest news item of the week. And Age of Empires finally coming to consoles. Actually, not just one, but two games. Age of Empires 2, the definitive edition, the remade or remastered edition, is coming on January 30th. And somewhen next year, Age 4, which you can see right now here on screen, is gonna hit the Xbox consoles. And I don't want to be rude, but if it's okay for you, I would like to start with my thoughts this time. Right here.
Oh, wait. Wait a moment. You've got a super chat.
We got this. Oh, yeah. We got the super chat from Tron TJ. Man, he sends in $20. Thank you so much, man. He says, Good afternoon, guys. Hey, we got to play Age of Empires when it comes to Xbox Boxenberger. As for the possibility of price increase, they should make a $20 tier for all first-party Xbox and all content for those games day one. Oh, that is a very nice idea. We will get to that point about price increases a little later in the show, but it is a good point that you could add all the DLC and stuff in a higher tier. I would love that. I would actually love that. And as for the Age of Empires invite, 100%. I know we've been playing it on PC as well, but when it is on console, I'm gonna practice a little, of course, the controls, and then we are good to go here for a lot of matches. People will see me play this a lot. But yeah, guys in the community, let us know what you think. Age coming to consoles, you excited? I want to know. I definitely want to know. So obviously, I am excited. I have now 370 hours into the game on PC. Season 2 is coming to an end, and yeah, I think I will not hit my target. I wanted to finish Season 2 in the platinum rank, but it looks like I will be stuck in Gold 3. What you see here on screen, by the way, is a match, a ranked match in the Gold 3 tier. I'm playing here the English civilization, and my opponent here is playing the French, which are in Gold 3 rank, very popular civilizations. And yeah, I'm I'm really excited. I wonder a couple of things. The more I played this game, the more I wonder how they will realize the controls. Because I've been saying that to you in the green room, Dutch. You can get like the basic controls of the game. I think you can transfer them very easily to the controller. But the little bit more advanced stuff is, I think, really hard to bring to a controller. And the little bit more advanced stuff is what makes this game so fun. It's incredible how deep this game is. You have right now 8. Very soon in the next season, we have actually 10 civilizations in the game. And I've never experienced a game that is so well balanced. I think the balancing in this game is like the best I've seen in any game. Like, there's literally no reason to say that one or the other civ is OP. There is literally, I have not encountered any cheaters. It's so well balanced, so well thought out, and I cannot wait to see how they bring that to console. I mean, I have played, and unfortunately, the game only counts like the ranked matches, so I have no idea how many matches I actually played, but the ranked matches I've played, I'm a little bit afraid to say it, but a little bit more than 300 matches already, and in ranked mode. And every match challenges you to think outside of the box. It's what makes this game so addictive is that the community, the people playing it, think all the time about new strategies, new ways to go, new build orders, which is basically like what you're building in which order, which units, which buildings first, which resources to get first. That's what we call the build order. Yeah. And for every civ, that's a different build order that is advantageous. And at the very beginning of the season 2, everyone was like playing the French. Everyone was like playing the French, and everyone thought, well, including myself, they are overpowered. But it was just because we didn't figure out a way how to play against French. And you can really tell that people have become so good over the season. They learned, like, okay, when I play this civ against this civ, I have to do this and this strategy. But it only lasts for like 2 weeks, because then everyone adapts to the most popular strategy, and suddenly it doesn't work anymore, and you have to readjust your strategy, and you have to figure that out because YouTubers are simply not fast enough to make videos to teach you the new build orders against the new strategies that are being played. And of course, that goes for like the gold rank. Again, they have like different ranks in that in that game. Like you start, of course, by 5 test matches where they figure out where they want to rank you, and then you have like a bronze, then you have a silver and a gold rank, and in each rank you have 3 tiers. So like silver 1, 2, 3, gold 1, 2, 3, and then they have the pro league, which is then platinum and emperor, and but that's really like the super high level tiers. I think like most regular casual or more casual gamers that are not in the esports leagues, and so they play more like silver or like myself, the gold in the gold rank. And in the gold rank already, you have to really think about, if you lose like 1 second in the very beginning of the match, you can already tell you're going to lose. It's like you literally have to think about every move you do. And I just love it. Because it keeps you on your toes. As you can see right now here, which is what I'm doing right now here in the base, I'm defending the base on the backside of the base, which is a strategy like 3 weeks ago. I wouldn't have ever done that. But people really learned, okay, a good strategy, because everyone is always defending the base in the front, to the front side of the map. They always try to sneak up from behind, and you have to adjust your strategies for that. But of course, if your opponent figures that out and he comes now in from the front, you're screwed. So it's literally a game that forces you to always think about new strategies, new ways to go, new good stuff to do, and I just love it, man. But I want to hear your thoughts. But before I do that, I need to read a couple of super chats that came in. John TJ sends in another $2. Thank you, man. He says, "I'm so excited. Keep up the amazing work, guys. I'm glad you enjoy the show, man. We always do our best to bring you guys entertainment here and great discussions. Thank you." Dave Rammer sends in $5. He says, "Dutch, please share with us what game you love anywhere near as much as Boxenberger loves Age of Empires. Is it Sea of Thieves? Cheers, folks."
Oh, that's a good one. In previous years, I would have had different answers, to be honest, because I've had all-time favorites a lot. So I used to be probably one of the biggest Final Fantasy fans, but over recent times that's fallen off, as a lot of people have probably assumed. I think things have changed dramatically for what Final Fantasy is compared to what it used to be. But I used to put countless hours into that. Again, much like Boxy, I've been on Age of Empires since the very beginning, since it originally released on PC. I used to play that for countless hours. I used to play a mode called Castle Blood, which was a community-created kind of a mode, should we say, where it auto-generates units, and for every 50 kills, it then generates another new unit. And so it steadily upgrades you, and basically it's whoever wipes out everybody first wins. But it's automatically generated, so you don't generate anything yourself. You just focus on the battle at hand. So it was very intense, but very quick and very exciting. But these days, God, I'm too eclectic these days to say that I love one thing more than the other. I've probably put in as much time on Minecraft over the years as Boxy has in Age of Empires this time around. So, no, God, it's hard to say. Right now, I don't have any one game that's taking up loads of my time. I like having a good mix of games, but. No, I'll probably love Age as much as Boxy. I just don't play it as much as Boxy.
It's been a while since we played, man. That reminds me, we need to do that again. Yeah, man. It's honestly, it's been a long time for me too that I love a game as much as I do Age. Like, it's been really a long time where and I'm talking here about Halo 3 days or so, where I really invested like 200 plus hours into a game. Usually there's just too much stuff coming out and you move on to the next thing and the next thing. And I still want to do that, but yeah, Age just pulls me back all the time. It's just so good. Yeah. Tron TJ sends in another $5 and he says, I'm the best at Command and Conquer. If you look at the console version, their layout, they should do for Age of Empires 4. Yeah, man. I remember that layout. It handled exceptionally well on a console. Like the only other RTS I can think of that does it similarly well was Halo Wars 2. The thing is here with Age, you have to even more rely on like grouping and moving your units around and switching across the map faster. I think that's simply a difference in between Command and Conquer and Age. Like for instance here, we see me building here a lot of farms and other buildings across the map in this match. I think this is going to be really tough to do on a controller properly. And there are civilizations that don't need you to like build as many farms, especially in the beginning of the game, as the English do, that you can see here. And I wonder how they will transport or balance that out, because that can give certain civilizations here on certain maps some real strategic advantages. But yeah, they have always figured out some really good ways to balance this game. Again, one of the best balanced games so far. And another super chat from Dave Ramos comes in. Man, thank you so much again for the support. And he says, sounds like the strategies in Age of Empires behave like the team comp strategies seen in Overwatch, and how quickly they can change and flip. Now, I have not played enough Overwatch to know exactly the comparisons, but yeah, man, it's really the community is adjusting all the time how to play that game. And the developers, they do just an incredible work in balancing it out. And I see a couple of others have played the game, because I see like Amblix in the chat saying rush villagers as the Mongols. Yeah, I hate the Mongols for that, because it is a tough strategy to counter, honestly. But if you find a way to counter it, you're screwed, because after the villager rush, you won't be able to come back. I've seen that strategy a lot, especially in the higher leagues. Like if you watch replays, by the way, which is an awesome thing, you can always rewatch all matches from all players. So if you know a good player that plays like in the higher tiers, like platinum tier or so, and you just go to those tiers and watch their games in replay, you can really learn a lot. Yeah. So, man, now it's time. One last super chat, and then I get to you, Dutch. From John TJ again. He says, I wish there would be a crossover between Command and Conquer and Halo Wars. That would be a perfect match, because those two, they line up so well in their core basics and the strategies you want or need to have on these games. So yeah, that would be a fantastic crossover. But Dutch, let me hear your thoughts. Age coming to console, you excited, man?
Yeah. Much like yourself, because we've spoke about this for a while. Actually, much like yourself, it's for us. We're intrigued more than just excited. I think intrigued on how the controls are going to work, how it's going to translate on console. But really excited for more people to get to experience it along with us. That obviously we have done for multiple years, but there's going to be a whole group of people that haven't ever experienced Age of Empires, because they've never been PC gamers or never bought the game on PC. So yeah, it's again, it's one of them games. It's specifically one of them types of games that most people don't go out and buy without knowing what it is, if that makes sense. It's not like heavily advertised. It's
Yeah.
never been never since its inception was it highly advertised really worldwide. It was just one of them things that we seem to end up playing, I guess. I don't know how we all get into this game. I don't even
Yeah.
remember, like, other than my dad playing it, my dad buying it. I wouldn't have.
I couldn't tell you either.
Yeah,
I
but
just remember playing H2
yeah,
specifically, like also very religiously, but at
yeah,
the time, uh, uh, mostly against the AI because like online play was really hard. We still were on a 52K modem, so
yeah,
online
yeah.
wasn't
I
really an
know that.
option. So we exactly. So we had the local LAN parties, but yeah, you had those like every other weekend or so, but not on a daily basis. So it was like a lot of matches against the AI,
Yeah,
which, by the way,
exactly.
is also. Sorry if I'm praising about the game, but the AI is something that really stands out in this game.
Hmm.
Seriously,
Especially on high difficulty. They are
yeah,
no joke.
they are no joke, and it's really not because they just do things faster than you can as a human. It's really because they behave and play like humans. And they have, I have seen a developer interview, they have like an AI watching all the ranked matches, and the AI is self-learning the player's strategy. And when you play solo against an AI in an offline match, the AI adapts to the most popular strategies. So even if you like I said, the Mongols, for instance, they change a lot of their strategies over over the season. When they started, every YouTuber was like, "Okay, the Mongols are the worst Civ now," and they have come back because people learned a new strategy. And when you play on ultra hard against the AI, the AI uses now the strategies that players use. It's fantastic, man. It is. But please continue. Um,
Yeah, yeah. It's I'm excited. To be honest, you know what it is. It's the funniest thing is that wasn't the most exciting thing of the event for me. I was happy to see it eventually come over because we've been talking about it for a while. But for me, the one thing that we've mentioned countless times as well was the announcement of Age of Mythology.
Age of Mythology. Yeah.
We've mentioned it in previous episodes that we'd love to see them return to Age of Mythology. It's been a very long time. It's literally just the one that they made in between, I think 2 and 3, and then they never come back to it. Just never spoke about it again.
Yeah.
And then to see them come out and announce that they're doing Age of Mythology again, they're reworking it and essentially remaking it for the new generation. First of all, of course, on PC. I think that for me was the cream of the crop with the announcements there.
Indeed. That was something. I did not expect that. I thought they let Age of Mythology just die. But luckily, I was wrong. And
Same.
yeah, it is such a classic. Amblick says it in chat. Age of Mythology is a classic, great story mode. Still, yeah, man, that is so true. By the way, people will be surprised about a fantastic single-player campaign in Age of Empires 4 as well.
Yeah.
It's really well done with all the how do you say that? Those little documentaries in between the
Yes.
levels that they use like really well filmed, and I'm talking here like on National Geography level quality documentaries in between the levels to set up the set piece for the next match, and it's really really well done. So yeah, we could go on for
Forever.
a long time, but you are absolutely right. Age of Mythology, man. Why don't they make a sequel?
I think you know what it is. I think this is a remake. This is a starting from scratch kind of revival of the franchise. I think And again, we've seen Age 1, 2, 3, and now, of course, most recently 4, which is doing tremendously. It's a great sequel to it, but I think Mythology was that long ago. I think there's probably a lot of things that they'd wish they could have done in Mythology that they couldn't do at the time, and they're using this opportunity to, okay, we'll do Mythology again, but we'll add some stuff, we'll make it prettier, we'll do X, Y, and Z. So I think they're going to see how this Mythology takes off, and if it takes off as well as 4 has, then I think we'll get a sequel.
I do hope you're right. I truly do hope that, because man, it's what we would deserve.
Mythology, Age of Mythology essentially is Age of Empires, but you're throwing in all these gods and mythological beasts into the mix as well. So you've got special units that are like Zeus and things like that you can just put in there, and it's insane. It's big, huge trolls that you can kind of generate to summon and go and fight for you. Or it's it's wild, but it's adds another layer. Adds a definite layer to tactical changes. You can't just go gung ho because some guy could have a troll god in the castle and that's it. Oh no.
That's true. That's true. John TJ says, with a $5 super chat, man, thank you. We should play Age of Empires 2 when it comes in January. I'm so hyped. Yeah, man, let's talk about that. I was a little bit surprised. I did not expect them to bring Age 2 to the console. And John TJ, definitely, man, looking forward to see that on console. But did you expect Age 2 to come to console?
Nope, not at all. No, I thought it was just going to be 4. The fact that they're bringing 2 and 4 over to console next year, it's even better. I was literally just expecting number 4. I didn't think they'd go back and bring 2 over, so they must be quite confident in the controls that they've got in place for Age of Empires if they're willing to bring both over. And they are the most, like, 2 is the most popular Age game out of like the previous ones by a long shot. Like 2 sticks in everybody's memories as being the best one. So not only are console players getting the best of the newest, which is of course 4, which is a huge leap, but it also kind of directly feeds into how good 2 was. Like 4 feels a lot like what 2 felt like, which is why people love it so much.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah, I think people are very, like I say, on this occasion from the team there, they're spoilt in the fact that they are getting essentially the 2 best Age of Empires games on console. They're not getting kind of 1, which was the starter game. They're not getting 3, which was They're getting 2 and 4.
Which it's really great to see. And I think like that's what is so intriguing about this, because like everyone was like, eventually they're gonna bring like Age 4 to the console, but now they bring in 1 year 2 Age of Empires to console. So I think they have figured out a way, a real good way how to handle the controls, because otherwise you wouldn't make such a big deal about these RTSs on console if you're not really confident in your control scheme. So
I agree.
Yeah, that's true. All right. I forgot. I wanted to say something else, but I forgot. So I think we should just move on to the next topic, and we get to Phil Spencer and his big interview and all the interesting things about that a little later. I want to first talk with you about the Microsoft earnings report, which was quite interesting, because this year, it's no secret, has not been like the best year for Xbox or gaming in general. We didn't have as many AAA games released. We didn't have as many AAA release or games come into Game Pass. Xbox themselves with first-party content, everyone knows that, wasn't as successful. So I was quite surprised about this earnings report. Let me read here a couple of things. They have released the earnings report for their last quarter, which is the first quarter of the fiscal year. And they have reported the best quarterly revenue for a Q1 period in the second year in a row. According to Xbox, the Xbox hardware revenue grew 13%. Gaming revenue grew slightly with 4%. Xbox content and services revenue declined by 3%, although there was a growth in Xbox Game Pass subscriptions. The revenue in total from the Xbox division marked an increase of around 0.47% on a year-on-year basis, and that's why it's only a little bit, but it is the best Xbox first fiscal year quarter ever. Satya Nadella had to say the following. We saw usage growth across all platforms driven by the strength of console. PC Game Pass subscriptions increased 159% year over year. And with cloud gaming, we're transforming how games are distributed, played, and viewed. More than 20 million people have used the service to stream games to date. As we look towards the holidays, we offer the best value in gaming with Game Pass and Xbox Series S. Nearly half of the Series S buyers are new to our ecosystem. So, a lot to take in here. Does any of this surprise you, man?
Nope. Nope.
All right, on to the next topic.
I think it's strange to say it's kind of obvious, but it is kind of obvious at this point that there is I wouldn't say a complete hard ceiling on everything, but there is a ceiling on how many people you can reach on console. I think that is one of the obvious points there to make, and I think it's good that they're saying that, because essentially they're not saying it's not growing, but it's 100% going to slow down. The reason for that being, of course, is there is only a limited amount of console players these days. He's talking about it like a market that is a kind of got around 200 and something million players across all platforms and on all console platforms, that is. So yeah, of course, it's going to slow down there. However, PC market is vastly different, and they're expecting the PC side to be, or at least continue to grow considerably, as well as mobile, which is where they're really going to be focusing their efforts on.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's in terms of the slowdown, no, and especially on the when you see some of the profits and things like that. Well, not even profits. When you see some of the percentages of growth or declines in growth in certain aspects, you understand it. It's inflation. People are struggling with their money at the minute, so of course there's going to be a decline in certain areas, especially over the recent months, and it's going to continue going forward, I think, for every platform. But it still increases where it requires it, and of course we know now, of course, of the changes to the profitability of Game Pass and how much of a large chunk of change that actually brings in for Microsoft as well. So
yeah. I have to admit, I'm a little surprised that they were still able to report a record-breaking quarter, because it's not just about the first-party content, but also third-party content. There was literally, like, in that fiscal quarter, there was just not really anything big coming out. So they made that entire record-breaking revenue basically on games that have either already been released or ongoing live service games. And this is quite surprising to me. It's also cool to see how big the growth in Game Pass PC was. Almost 160% growth of of PC Game Pass subscribers is something special. That is definitely an important and great milestone for them. What surprised me is that statement at the end of that I read from Satya Nadella. Like he's really, I mean, of course, he's the CEO of Microsoft. He's gotta hype that up. But I want to ask you that what do you think about the statement? Nearly half of the Series S buyers are new to the console system. So is this the console? Is this the way to go? How to bring in new customers in your ecosystem? Have a super cheap entry point, a quality console, that potato that holds this gen back. Is that secretly actually a good strategy to bring in new customers? What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. We've said this since day one. The Series S is absolutely the way forward. Not only are you getting the same games as everybody else, and obviously, if you just ignore those weird people saying that it's holding the generation back when it's clearly not. If you just ignore that and you have a look at the actual kind of facts behind it, is the console itself is an amazing bit of kit, but it's also an extremely low entry point. We've seen even kind of this coming to this month already in Black Friday that some of the deals over in the US include like the Series S plus Call of Duty, which is huge, and that's not even like an official marketing. That's just their bundle that they're putting together over there. Like, and at no extra cost, it is just the cost of the console, but you get Call of Duty free, the new one. And I think that's huge. But they're going to be doing a lot of those type of things over here as well, and in Europe for the Black Friday sales or Christmas sales, Boxing Day sales, and things like that. And we see more and more of them. The bundles that come with a free controller and a headset, I've seen for the same price. I've seen bundles with FIFA, of course. We've seen bundles with Rocket League and things like that, and Fortnite, and so it's a no-brainer. I think the one thing that's going to help the Series S more going forward as well is when the cost of the memory cards start coming down. Because then the buy-in for that is, of course, you're not just limited to, especially when more Series X and S only games come out, which require you to have it on internal or on an SSD. When you reduce that, and of course we know this guy can hold. I've done it myself. I've got like 8, 9 actual big games on there at the moment. And that's it. That's pretty much leveled it out. I can fit probably a couple of little indie games on there, not too big. A couple of little ones on, so maybe he's maxing out at about 10, 12 games if you include.
Do you have an external on that? On that?
No external on that one. No.
Okay.
No. So just on the internal. So that's 8, 9 big games and a couple of little indies, and that's it set. So that is its only drawback. And like I say, as soon as even if you get a 5, 12 gig expansion slot, which is reduced in price now, if that comes down again, I think that little thing, a memory card and Game Pass, and people are away. We're absolutely flying. So it's a no-brainer. It's one of the smartest decisions I think that Microsoft could have made to start off this generation. Was like, yeah, we're going to make this big beefy Series X, which is all powerful and dominates everything, but we're also going to make a real entry point console that doesn't need to do 4K and doesn't worry about all these other fancy things. It's got everything that the Series X has. It's just a maximum of 2K, up to 120 frames. Normal output's about 1080p. Like, it still has 100 up to 120 frames. It's still got VRR. It's still got velocity architecture. It's still got the SSD. Like, it's got all those bells and whistles. It just doesn't need to pump out the same graphical kind of sharpness as the rest of them do. And it shows how well that's selling by also how little people, the normal casual consumer, actually cares about the resolution. It shows it just doesn't matter because they just want They just want the console to be able to play the newest games, and they're getting that. That's what it is.
Exactly.
And it's cheap.
It's cheap. It's a great value proposition. There's really nothing I could add to this discussion. So I'm just gonna ask you a question that came up in chat from Richard. He says, Boxmaker, could you ask the descendant of creators, aka your co-host, how he's feeling about being in a AAA game in the next weeks?
Yeah, I'm relatively tired. It was a lot of work, but I'm looking forward to you all playing the game and shouting "boy" at your screens, "boy" at your screens countless times. So, yeah,
yeah, same here. It's gonna be a fun one. Yeah, man. Series S. It wasn't actually on the topics list. I don't know how we got there. So let's bring this around to what we wanted to talk about, and that is the Witcher remake. I know you're excited for this one. The Witcher, the original Witcher, which is like 15 years old now, only came out on PC at the time. I don't know if you have actually played it. I played it back in the days. I had to, at the time, I didn't have a good PC. I had to run it at like the minimum settings, and everything turned down. It was still a great game. It was like, at the time, RPGs were a little bit different than they are these days. They were, especially like European made RPGs, were more like in the vein of Gothic and those kind of RPGs. And this one tried to do a couple of things differently. And I really enjoyed it. You could really tell that it was the studio's first proper release, but it was a really good game. At its core, the story was great. Like the choices you could and had to make were like super impactful to the story outcome. And it was just a fantastic game. This game is now getting remade in Unreal 5. They have already started that development. They partnered with another studio for that. And I just want to read what they wrote in the press statement. The Witcher is where it all started for us. It was the first game we made ever, and it was a big moment for us. Then going back to this place and remaking the game for the next generation of gamers to experience it just feels big, if not bigger. Collaborating with Fool's Theory on the project is just exciting, as some people there have been previously involved in the Witcher games. They know the source material well, they know how much gamers have been looking forward to seeing the remake happen, and they know how to make incredible, ambitious games. And although it will take some time before we are ready to share more about it, I know it will be worth the wait. So, yeah, it's gonna be a while. But man, this gen, even though it's a couple of years from now, is gonna be filled with Witcher games. We know, of course, The Witcher 4 is coming. We know about the 3 other spin-off Witcher games, and now we get in the remake. Man, are you excited?
Super excited. Yeah. The reason I say I'm excited is, of course, it's a complete ground-up remake on an entirely different engine. Witcher 1 was made on BioWare's engine at the time. This is obviously changing over to Unreal Engine 5. It's working with a third party to get this done. But it's a game that sorely needs it. It's 15 years old. If you try to go back to it now, it is, of course, it's the beginning of the franchise. A lot of people jumped on Witcher with 3. The vast majority, in fact, jumped on Witcher with 3. And most people haven't been back to try out.
Although
the Assassin of
they
Kings.
should go back and play at least 2. It runs beautiful on the Series X now with frame FPS boost and auto HDR. And it's great. It's more linear.
And they don't know the second one specifically was about obviously assassinating heads of state, essentially.
Yeah.
And the opening cinematics for the second one were brilliant. Like, even if you watch the opening cinematics of that, it's not like Geralt's not in the first bit. It's another Witcher that's kind of assassinating the king.
Yeah.
And it's an awesome premise. It's much more linear. Doesn't have the same giant open world that 3 does, but it also begs the question: if they're doing a ground up remake of 1, are they going to borrow some of the aspects from 3, some of the open world aspects, and bring that into the first one and remake that story in a more Witcher 3 kind of open world environment?
That is a very good question. I mean, that would definitely mean that they need to rewrite a lot of the stuff, because like the first one and the second one, they had more like open areas, but once you move on, you move basically on in the game from that area. And if you want to make it open world, you kind of have to look out for the story. How does the pacing work? How do the quest lines work? When you are able to actually go back to all the areas and make them more open world. Yeah, but that would be, I mean, that would be then an entirely new game. So I'm not sure, but it's interesting to think about this.
Yes, it is.
Now you have
Yes,
put
it is.
something
See,
in my
it's got you
head.
thinking now. It's got you thinking
Now
now.
I'm thinking. I'm thinking actually I need to play The Witcher 3 again. Because, like, I have no idea. I should have written it down. Someone on Twitter put up the question under the official post, like, what about the Witcher 3 next gen patch? And they just answered that question with soon, smiley.
Yeah.
So what do you think? When will we see that Witcher
December.
next gen patch? December.
It'll just shadow drop December.
Yeah, they tend to do that, right? They also stealth drop the Cyberpunk, the next gen patch, like literally like a day or two after Elden Ring came out.
The reason I'm saying December as well specifically is because they've got the Witcher miniseries coming out in December.
Yeah, the spin-off.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Capitalize.
Yeah, it would make sense. It would make sense.
It's worked beautifully for them over the last 2, like Cyberpunk's Edge Runners, like that. Unbelievable. Like, it's still going. By the way, that's still the numbers on that are still going crazy.
Yeah, they have recently reported that it's the 3rd month in a row that Cyberpunk hit like more than 1 million active players,
a day,
which is insane actually to think about.
Yeah,
and man, I would love to play The Witcher over the Christmas period. I have that in my head now.
I was gonna say, we know what happened with Witcher 3. Essentially, it's like as soon as The Witcher came out on Netflix, it just surged with players on The Witcher. So of course they're going to capitalize on that again. Witcher I think the series will drop first. When's that series drop actually? Series.
That's a good question.
Have a quick look. October. No. Blood Origin. There we go. December 25th. Okay. That's late. Is that Christmas
Day? Really
late.
Like,
yeah, it's Christmas Day. Okay,
what are they thinking?
Perfect.
Okay.
If you want to watch something on Christmas Day, Blood Origins. There you go.
Blood Origins.
But would they dare drop the next gen patch on Christmas Day?
I don't know.
With Blood Origins. You never know.
You never know. You never know. I mean, they have said it's not just a next gen patch. It's also new content that ties in with the series. So, I don't think so. I'm putting a bet down here now. I don't think so. I don't think so. By the way, I changed the match here in Age of Empires that we're looking at, and that was like a couple of months ago at the very beginning of season 2. I was at that time in gold 2 rank, and you can see I'm playing a complete different strategy here with also the English, but it's complete different because at the time the strategy I'm you've seen me playing earlier did not work at all, and yeah, it's just what it is. You have to readjust constantly in that game. You really have to do that. So yeah, man, good stuff here. The Witcher. Let us talk about Phil Spencer. Phil Spencer had a big interview with an outlet I have never heard before. WSJ. I don't know. You heard of them?
Wall Street Journal.
Is that is that short? Because like every article I've seen is they said we had Phil Spencer had an interview with WSJ, and I was like,
the Wall Street Journal.
It's Wall Street Journal. That makes sense. I've heard of that. Okay. A couple of really interesting statements from Phil came out about different kinds of topics. He commented on Call of Duty and Activision. He commented on that Keystone rumor and leak. He commented on prices in gaming, and he commented on Game Pass and its how it's profitable. So we will start with Call of Duty. It's been a discussion point, so let's get it out there. I know you're getting kind of tired to talk about it, so I still wanted it to mention because it was interesting. He said in the interview about the ABK deal and Call of Duty specifically, Call of Duty specifically will be available on PlayStation. I'd love to see it on the Switch. I'd love to see the gameplay playable on many different screens. Our intent is to treat Call of Duty like Minecraft. This opportunity is really about mobile for us. When you think about 3 billion people playing video games, there's only about 200 million households on console. It's like he has listened to the world of gaming because we've been talking about this exact thing from the very beginning. This isn't about console gaming, and if you want to grow a business or the business in gaming, you can't grow it through consoles alone. The console market is more or less saturated. He mentioned 200 million. I've said before it's probably more 250, but who am I to argue with Phil here? Be that as it may, like you have every generation across Xbox, Nintendo, and PlayStation, round about 200, 250 million consoles, somewhere in that ballpark. And that's about it. And that's why they buy ABK. And the Call of Duty exclusivity, he said it's gonna be just like Minecraft. It's just gonna be there. So yeah, Dutch, what do you think? You're muted, man.
Whoops. Yeah, it's. I've been saying this since day dot. They mentioned originally it was going to be like Minecraft, and this is the only franchise in the portfolio that makes sense to have it like Minecraft. I would even say, aside from that, I don't think even Diablo or any of the other games in the portfolio would work like Minecraft. The reason I say that specifically is because, of course, you've already got Diablo on mobile, you've got Diablo on console currently, you've got Diablo on PC. The biggest places Diablo works correctly, although people like enjoying it on console, the biggest market for Diablo is PC. By a long shot.
Yeah, by a long shot.
So if you really
although I think that might change now that they release for the first time a Diablo simultaneously on consoles.
Yeah,
I think there's a good chance that this might
change.
If
at the same time, if you look at how many players are on console for Call of Duty versus how many players are on console for Diablo, removing Diablo from one platform, PlayStation in this instance, wouldn't damage Diablo in terms of anything really, and it certainly wouldn't damage Microsoft. You remove Call of Duty from PlayStation, however, from Microsoft's perspective, that damages both their look really, but also their financial earnings capabilities. Whereas Diablo originally was mainly PC, eventually creeped over to console, We've got a couple of versions of it on console now. Obviously, we've got the Diablo 4 coming out soon. But restricting that anywhere going forwards, I don't think would make them much difference. Same would apply for Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and things like that. I don't think it would make a blind bit of difference if they were on PlayStation or not. The only one that I think Microsoft are bothered about keeping everywhere specifically is Call of Duty, and that's because of its it is just a wide appeal game. It's a game that casuals play. It's a game that everyone picks up regardless. Like we've seen it, we'll say it can be a terrible Call of Duty and people pick it up. It's just one of them games, like the casuals, and I've mentioned this before. There is literally no tie-in to say that Call of Duty would make a gamer buy any other content on your console, because I don't think it does. I think a casual gamer that buys Call of Duty for a PlayStation is the same casual gamer that buys FIFA or Madden or NBA. It's these casual games that they just pick up and play on a console for a couple of bit and then turn it off. They're not inclined. The vast majority of those gamers aren't the ones that are inclined to go and play a Plague Tale or to play God of War or to play Halo or to play Gears of War or to play any of them, any first party content. Like they're not bothered about that. They're not bothered about the Horizons or anything. All they want to do is just pick up a console, buy Call of Duty, buy FIFA, play them games against their friends, turn it off, go about their lives.
Yeah.
That's the vast majority of those gamers, and it's always been that way. And the reason Microsoft don't want to change that is because they know that the knock-on effect of a person that buys Call of Duty on console is not inclined. So for them to just restrict it to only being on Xbox, like, yeah, they'll make a load of money from players on Xbox, but they know that it's not going to translate in those people buying other content.
Yeah.
Because they're very unlikely to. So to keep it on all platforms and then also bring it to Nintendo Switch, would be for the first time since the Wii that they've had a Call of Duty, would be huge. You've seen, I mean, if anybody's had or even looked at Call of Duty Mobile, it actually runs really well. It works with a controller now. It looks okay. And I think if it's even anywhere near that kind of quality or even better than that quality on the Nintendo Switch, then I think they've got a winner anyway. And I think loads of people will buy it on Switch. Loads of people. So they'll make fountains of money from the Nintendo Switch. It is, of course, the highest, fastest selling console on the market and will continue to sell forever by the looks of things. So it's smart business. It is absolutely smart business. We've been saying it for ages. Like Minecraft, and this is where it goes even further. Minecraft hasn't just remained on all consoles and all platforms. What they've done is, with each iteration, so they brought out a PlayStation edition, they brought out the Xbox edition, they brought out the Nintendo Switch edition, then they brought out the all-encompassing version. So it gets rid of the individual versions, and now you just have Minecraft. So originally you had the Java edition, then PlayStation, Nintendo, and Xbox editions. And then they scrapped all them, and now you literally just have one portal for Minecraft. You just have one version, which is great, thank God. But it means that everybody can access it. Your account goes in between them all because you've logged into this one kind of Mojang account in the middle, / Microsoft account. So, and with every iteration, with every version, it goes to every platform. Minecraft Dungeons is on every platform. Minecraft Legends is going to every platform. Minecraft Earth is where it can be. Of course, we know that's kind of a little bit different. You've got the Education Edition on PC. And then if you look at what I think they'll end up doing with Call of Duty, which is why he's mentioning Minecraft, is because if they choose to take Call of Duty in a different direction and bring out a different style of Call of Duty game, I think that will also go to all platforms. I don't think they'll just limit it to just the standard iteration of Call of Duty, because what you see at the moment is just you get Call of Duty, then the next year you get Call of Duty, then the next year you get Call of Duty. And one thing they've already said is that's going to change. It's no longer going to be an annual cycle. It's going to be at least every 2 years, if not every 3. depending on what we choose and what that requires. It's going to kind of take a little bit of pressure off that team. But it also then could potentially lead into them doing different Call of Duty projects that are different, like Dungeons has been to Minecraft or Legends has been to Minecraft. Going into these different areas, you could find a Call of Duty kind of, should we say, like an XCOM type Call of Duty game, where it's like a tactical based kind of thing where you've got to manage your units a bit, or you could something along those lines. It could just be something like that, or an actual simulator based Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Could be anything, like just a strictly stealth based one.
Simply expanded, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you're spot on. I also think that they will move it more towards like an ongoing live service game, that you get like a campaign like every 2 or 3 years, but a yearly update to that live service platform. That's
But
just
you've
what
also
I
got
think.
Warzone and Warzone 2.0 for live service.
Yeah, true that. I think they will marry that somehow, like have one big launcher and then like bring continuous updates.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so
Absolutely. It'll be like the Battlefield launcher.
exactly.
When you go to Battlefield, you can just essentially click onto any of the battlefields you want to play and jump onto it.
Yeah.
Sorted. It'll be a bit like that, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, man. That's basically it. The CMA will probably still think it's gonna be about Call of Duty exclusivity.
Yeah,
but it's
whether or not they're prepared to go down and say that Microsoft are lying about this or are lying about their approach, which is essentially what they would be doing if they said, "No, we don't believe you."
Yeah.
So we don't believe you're going to do a Minecraft, which would be essentially saying to Minecraft, "Well, you're lying. We don't think you're going to do that."
Yeah. Yeah.
It makes, but they've said it, and from any company perspective, let's face it, financially for Microsoft, it makes literally no sense to remove that from any platform. It makes no sense. And I've said it again, if they really want to push the board out, which Sony will probably say no to, and if they've got a real serious issue with subscription services, one, I wouldn't even say it's a concession, because for Microsoft, it's still a win-win because you're still getting people playing the game. They could go to Sony and say, well, fine, put it on PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
Go for it. We'll take a small cut. You put it on PlayStation Plus. There you go. What's your excuse now?
True. They could do that. I still don't think that they want to make that service as attractive.
It's a small possibility, but
yeah, I do get your train of thought. I definitely do get your train of thought, and I think
it's one of them. It's one of them. Do you know when the opposition has very little else to complain about, and they're trying to use excuses? They're like, oh well, they've got Game Pass, and but they've got cloud, and yeah, but they'll stop it and they'll take it off our platform. So they've already said, well, we're not taking it off your platform. If anything, we're going to bring it to more platforms, including Nintendo Switch. So that's that one out the window. They're like, oh well, you're gonna it's gonna seriously affect us financially. It's not though, because you're still going to be massive. Oh well, it's going to take our users. But even if some of the users came over, you're still going to be more than double the size of us. So okay. So the more points they bring up, it's kind of just whittling them down to the point where they say, okay, then if you're really serious about your consumers, if you're so serious about your consumers, then put it on PlayStation Plus. It's like one of them final things where Microsoft, at every turn, theoretically, has an answer for.
Yeah. True that. Man, true that. Phil also talked about Xbox Keystone.
Yes.
That little rumored streaming stick. And a while ago, we've seen that tease on the shelf, the legendary shelf of Phil Spencer, and he had to say the following about Keystone. Keystone was something that we were incubating internally. Late spring, we pivoted to working with Samsung. I still have the prototype. Will we do a streaming device at some point? I expect we will, but it's years away. So, if anyone expects a streaming stick or streaming device from Microsoft anytime soon, I don't think it's gonna happen, man. I don't think so. Like Phil said, they've partnered with Samsung. They bring now everything to xCloud to everything, like through smart TV apps. Like you have dedicated handhelds already out there from GeForce, GeForce, not GeForce. The G thing. How is it called, man? I'm blanking on the name right now. You guys know what I'm talking about. There are dedicated streaming handhelds out there. You won't need a streaming stick anymore because or soon, because like the smart TVs get the app. So it's a good question. Why would you make one? And he said if they make it, it's years away. So do you think this is a missed opportunity, or?
No, I understand their thinking. He's mentioned himself. Of course, we've been playing with it. They're still going through with it. It might take a bit of time, but
Yeah.
Of course, they've paired up with Samsung and things to put it directly onto the TV instead of having a streaming stick. So there's a method of putting that in there. Of course, from Android, most Android devices or browsers, you can access it at the moment. Then they've also got G Cloud and Razer creating their own devices. So I think at the moment, what they'll specifically be doing, and potentially one of the reasons they pushed back on actually continuing with it to come out soon and not kind of push it back a few years, might be down to the fact that they think technologically they're not going to be able to do anything different right now than any of the other devices coming out. And I think one thing Microsoft want to do, if they do bring something out, is bring something out that is going to push what is capable of a cloud gaming device. So of course, at the minute, you've got and be able to do it in a financially beneficial way for the consumer. We've spoke about the Logitech G Cloud or whatever it's called, and
G Cloud. That was G Cloud, exactly. Yeah,
and that's like 300 and something pounds, and for what it is, it's like as expensive as the Switch. Are you going to choose a G Cloud? Are you going to choose a Switch? Realistically, you're going to choose a native console. Then you have a look at the Razer, which is around about the same price, but it's a bit better spec. And if Microsoft are looking at them and saying, listen, like everyone's bringing out the same thing. If we bring out one, it's just another one.
Yeah.
Like it's just another cloud gaming device at that point. And would it actually hit well? Probably not. What do we need to do? We probably need to bring in some form of native support. We'll probably need to be able to get to the point with xCloud where you can remotely access your own console. We need to be able to make sure that xCloud as a service as well is at its peak. So when we do launch our own device, if we launch our own handheld device, or even the micro device that connects to your TV, it needs to be the best. Like it needs to be like the next iteration of Wi-Fi, whatever that may be. It needs to have like the lowest latency kind of physically possible. The picture quality potentially they could be working on, they could be trying to get that up for specifically for TVs and that little streaming device, try to get the cloud streaming quality between 2K to 4K. And we know it's capable because obviously we've seen that with Stadia. They had 4K streaming. We've seen it with, I'm sure Luna also has between 1080 and 4K streaming. So it is possible. Microsoft just haven't pushed out that far yet. So I think really they want to get all their eggs in the basket correctly, make sure the service is as good as possible, and then put a device out. And up until that point, they've got a perfectly capable, fully functional app that works and can work on everything that has a browser. So yeah, I think it's not top of their tree, but I certainly think that they'll be intentionally delaying it because right now isn't the best time to be bringing that out.
Yeah. I agree. I don't really know if. I mean, it would be interesting to see like to have that USB stick that you just plug in your TV and you can access the cloud. You would still have to sell the people a controller. So you have to kind of bundle that in with the stick. You have to sell the stick controller, and that brings us to the question: where would be the price point for something like that? Yeah. And if you think about that, you're already in the ballpark of $100, and I don't think that's a big enough delta to the Series S. So I think those kind of considerations factor in there as well. Yeah, obviously at this point, Microsoft doesn't think it's worth the investment, the money to bring that out. But obviously they think about this, otherwise they wouldn't have prototyped it. So there must be a reason, a business reason or whatever for not bringing it. Yeah. So the future will tell if we get that in our hands. You know what else the future might bring? Price increases. Phil Spencer hinted at the future Xbox Game Pass or console prices being increased. He's had to say the following: I do think at some point we will have to raise the prices on certain things. Bear that in mind, certain things. We will talk about what those certain things are in a second. But going into this holiday, we thought it was important to maintain the prices. We've held price on our console, we've held price on our games and our subscription. I don't think we'll be able to do that forever. I do think at some point we'll have to raise some prices on certain things. So yeah, before we talk about that, I need to briefly shout out our generous friend Dave Ramos. He sends in a $20 super chat. Thank you, man. Thank you so much for the support. He says, curious if part of the delay is the value proposition of X Stick relative to Series S. If the X Stick cost is over 100, it starts to push the value proposition towards the S. My guess, X Stick comes out when we see S and X Pro. It's a good point. That is a great point. It could make sense to bring it at that point in time, because when everyone is like excited to spend another $500 on a Series X premium model, enhanced console or so, you also want to have something exciting for the super low entry point. So yeah, could be, man, could be. Do you think, Dutch?
Yeah, I think at that point that would make sense. Yeah,
personally. Yeah, definitely. All right, so raising game prices at certain things at some point in time. What do you think? What's gonna raise first, and when will we see a raise in price? Either for console games or the subscription.
Yeah, I don't think console will change at all. The reason I think console will stay the same primarily is because they make so little on console anyway. Yes, they're currently making money on hardware, but in the grand scheme of things, the amount of money they make on hardware is so fractional when you compare it to the amount of money they make on software and services. So it will absolutely, and the maintenance for actually continuing those services is far higher now than it is to manufacture the products that you need to buy.
Yeah.
The maintenance of the servers, in terms of, you're talking about an energy glut at the moment, and obviously we know the consoles aren't only manufactured in North America, they're also manufactured in Europe, they're manufactured over in Asia. So each territory is going through its own energy issues right now in terms of its pricing, specifically in Europe as well.
Yeah.
And that has a detrimental effect on the overhead costs. We know it does. And specifically for that, when you're talking about server rooms, and obviously server rooms not only need just the energy to stay on all of the time, but they need the energy for cooling, which is one of the largest outlays for any server room or anything, any data center, for instance. That is one of the largest outlays I would imagine at the moment, specifically for a company like that. When we're talking about energy costs as well for companies as large as Microsoft, the vast majority of them don't have fixed contracts. They do something called flexible purchasing, so they purchase usually on the day ahead or the week ahead. So it's like literally every other day or every other week they'll be purchasing in chunks. It's not like me or you or the average business who purchase 2 or 3 years and that's it. Then you don't have to worry about it again for 2 or 3 years. Like, you don't do that. So that is the biggest outlay, and for them, the reason I'm saying services primarily is because that is also one of the biggest content and services is one of the biggest ways that they can make money quick over hardware. They've said themselves that consoles, it has its limit. Game Pass itself has its limit in terms of how many users you can get on console. They don't expect every person that owns an Xbox to have Game Pass. It's not for everybody, but it is an option for everybody to use. So they don't expect, like, if they sold, for instance, this generation 70 million Xbox Series consoles, they don't expect 70 million people to be on Game Pass on console. Like, you'd probably maybe hope for a third or a half at most, and the rest of them not. And then, of course, you've got PC and you've got mobile and things like that. So, in terms of where they're going to be looking at a price increase, it'll be Game Pass and games. Now, the benefit of this to people, if the game price goes up, of course, is that you're not really affected by it in that sense. Because, of course, with first-party games for Microsoft, they're in Game Pass day one. So the real benefit to yourself is, even if the game goes to $70 or £70 or €70, whatever it is that you've got to pay, €80, in fact, I think it is, isn't it?
Yeah, 80.
Yeah. So no matter what it is, of course, it is built into Game Pass. You're not going to see that upfront blow to the price, which is a benefit. What you probably will be likely to see, because at the moment, if you look at it in terms of dollars, like, a lot of people in America are just like, oh, the maximum I'll pay is $15. If you actually convert what the Europeans and the UK lot are paying for right now, that is $15. So we're more likely to say I would say at a push, as much as I wouldn't like to see it, but the ceiling for me right now for Game Pass Ultimate would be like 17, I think, to $20 a month at like an absolute limit right now, just for me. But I expect it to go to maybe 15. If they do a price increase, it'll be staggered. So eventually, I think it will get to that 20 mark eventually, and we're talking years.
Yeah.
But I think it'll go. The first jump will be from $10.99 a month, which is what we have now, to 15 a month. And I think yours is relatively similar. So maybe it's €11 or something a month at the moment for Ultimate.
13 for premium or Ultimate or what it's called. It's an interesting thing to think about. I agree on the console side of things because the margin is relatively low anyways, and production cost of the console goes down anyway. So your revenue, or actually your net earnings, will increase automatically. You don't have to do anything because the production of the console goes down over the years. So if you just don't give the typical price drop in consoles, you automatically have your, like, quote unquote increase in console game prices, because usually by the time now, 2 years into the console generation, we've seen the first price drop of a console. If you compare that to the past, like 2 years into the console generation, from 500, you would probably drop down to 450 or something. and just not giving that price drop is automatically basically the thing that is considered a price increase. So yeah, I don't think it's going to happen on the console side of things. I just don't think we will see the price drops. Now, the question is whether we will see a price increase in Game Pass or games. Games would make sense in the way that you make Game Pass even more attractive.
Yeah.
Like if you raise your price, first party price to 80 euros or 70 US dollars respectively, like yeah, you're basically screaming at people, hey, go subscribe to Game Pass. You can play the same game in there. And we've also learned that Game Pass, and that is another statement that we will talk about in a second, that it's actually profitable right now. The question is how much revenue or profit do you actually make of the service? We get to that in a sec, but like we need to think about what does Game Pass look like in a year or two. If Xbox keeps all their promises for next year, like if we look at the first half of the year, what you get in Game Pass is insane. Like literally every month you get a AAA release, a day one AAA release. Like not all of them are first party, but you get Wolong, you get a Stalker, you get of course Redfall, Starfield, Forza. So you get a AAA release every month. And if they can continue that, probably not every month, but every other month, which is the intended target, we all know that. And we look at Game Pass in a year or two, the value proposition is really like crazy. No one would argue, okay, you have to pay for that service also, let's say, I don't know, $20. The value proposition would still be there. And I think that this is where they will go eventually. They cannot do that right now. As long as you don't have that like continuous stream in revenue, not in revenue, that continuous stream in AAA content, you cannot raise the game the Game Pass price. But as soon as they have that steady, reliable on a continuous basis, I think it's the way to go for them. But let us know in chat. What do you think? What might get a rise in price first? Console price, game price, or Game Pass? It's an interesting question to think about. So drop your thoughts in the chat, guys. And yeah, let's get to another statement from Phil Spencer. Because he confirmed actually that Game Pass is profitable. It makes for about 15% of the gaming revenue for Microsoft. And Phil Spencer had to say, I think it will stay in that 10 to 15% of our overall revenue, and it's profitable for us. We are seeing an incredible growth on PC. On console, I've seen growth slow down, mainly because at some point you've reached everybody on console that wants to subscribe. So do you think we are already saturated with potential console subscribers, or is there still like a significant potential for growth?
I think it's definitely not a significant potential for growth. The reason I'm saying it's not significant is because as he's alluded to, there is like 250 million console gamers worldwide.
Yeah, okay.
Across Nintendo,
but let's say,
Xbox, PlayStation.
But we all know that Xbox is doing significantly better this gen than last gen. Let's say we will end up this gen at something, I don't know, at around 80 to 100 million consoles sold. That means that you have like, I don't know, an active player base of 60 to 70 million, and you have like 20 million subscribers. Yeah. That would mean that only every third Xbox gamer or so has subscribed to the thing. So growth, significant growth. Yeah. So like, I don't know, getting to 40 million or so would be a significant growth, in my opinion. But do you think there is a chance? Because Phil made it sound like, okay, hey, we have already reached almost everyone who wants to subscribe.
I think if you have a look at, I think the words as well. I think I understand what he's saying, but I think the words, like the wording, might have been a little bit better. If you have a look at the ceiling, which is capable on PC, for instance, you've got hundreds of millions of gamers on PC, hundreds of millions, and they haven't even scratched the surface of the amount of people they could get on that. Then you have a look at mobile. You've got billions of people on mobile that haven't even touched mobile yet. When you have a look at console, I would say that probably the vast majority of the console gamers that they've got. So even if for layman's sake, out of the 25 million that they've got at the moment, 20 million of those are console, out of a potential, or what they've shipped right now is like 15 million Series, or even 10 million Series X and S's, or something around those lines, and 10 million of those subscribers are on previous gen, and 10 million are on the next gen.
Yeah,
like you've already kind of hit the current ceiling of what you can do on the console until the console seriously starts to sell. So I think the ceiling that he's talking about is mainly because, like, we have as many units out as we can with console. Like, Game Pass isn't going to grow significantly with console unless there's going to be a significant shift in the amount of units we sell. That would make more sense on that front, because specifically in the likes of Japan, etc., who are getting Series S's, the vast majority are getting Game Pass with it. So they're getting you, and they've said themselves, the Series S, the vast majority of Series S owners are new to Xbox. Like, have never played on Xbox before. They're brand new Xbox gamers, which is really great to see. It means they are getting a lot of new people in there that have never been on Xbox before. So that's really positive news. But I think it's what he's alluding to there is primarily that the room for growth on console is just far slimmer than it is on any other platform. When it comes to Game Pass, like, there is, even if you're saying, oh well, we can shorten that gap from 1 in every 5 that buy an Xbox have Game Pass to 1 in every 3 or 1 in every 2, that it's growth. But if you're saying on PC at the moment we've got 1 in every 100,000, and we get that down to 1 in every 50,000, that is substantial increase in the amount of people playing. So I think it's alluding to more percentages. Like, he's thinking of, okay, this is our ceiling on console. This is how many consoles we can realistically sell. So this is realistically how many more users we can get on console, versus this is mobile.
This is the mobile potential growth. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. What is potential growth, or significant growth for you? Of course, what's your basis? If you of course compare that to a potential growth in the mobile space, obviously, console is nothing against.
And I think that's what they're looking at as well. I think that's what his words are based against.
I agree.
Having a look at the other areas he's targeting, and he's saying, yeah, Game Pass is definitely slowing down, which is what he said, because he said PC has seen rapid growth.
Yeah.
But consoles slowing down. And I think the reason for that, of course, is because there are far more users to go at on PC. And some of the games they've been releasing over there recently on PC have been, like, unbelievable for PC gamers, specifically RTS players. There's so many RTS games and things on there now as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's also the League of Legends thing, and Valorant and stuff. They've been doing great things on PC lately, and they take that really serious. So I still think that, well, relative, of course, to the potential console numbers, it's there is there will be a growth in Game Pass subscriber numbers. I would truly be surprised if we don't hear them report like a 30 or 40 million number after they actually release first-party content into Game Pass. We have had that last year with, of course, Forza and Halo. But that's still something where I say, okay, that's really not the thing they need to do for that the growth they target and intend to have. So once you get those bangers like a Starfield, like a Hellblade, like a Perfect Dark and Avowed, and stuff like that in new IPs, big AAA blockbuster titles that people are really excited about. And when you get those on a continuous basis, I think there is a significant potential for growth. Yeah. So I would be surprised, honestly, if we don't see those numbers being ramped up. So yeah, we shall see. The
Like
community,
I
but
was going to say,
yeah,
like I say, there's I'm not saying, and I understand where Phil's come from, because I'm not saying there won't still be significant growth in console, but I think what he's alluding to slowing down is the fact that it's just the volume of people he has on the console compared to the volume of people
that's true.
in other
That's
sectors.
true. Yeah.
So I think the slowdown is only natural for console because there's only so many people you can target on console. Like, even if consoles continue to sell and you sell another 1 million consoles, that's great. That's 1 million people you can potentially get Game Pass to, but you've still got 100 million on PC you can potentially hit. So I think it's just when you comparing the sectors they're trying to attack Game Pass with, yeah, that's why he's kind of saying it's slowing down in the grand scheme of things compared to what they've, because obviously the initial like launch or kick up for Game Pass would have been like, you've got 2 million people on it. Wow, that's 2 million users. Awesome. Okay, now you've got 5 million. Okay, that's a big jump. That's double. Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, now you've got 10 million. Okay, we've doubled again. Nice. Okay, now you've got 20 million. Oh, awesome. Now we've doubled again. And then you've got another 5 million on PC. Awesome. Okay, that's shot up quick. Sweet. But then that 20 million is going to go to maybe 21, 21 and a half, 22, 23 and a half. Like, it's going to go up in these much smaller increments, so it'll still grow. But the other markets are going to just shoot up much quicker.
Yeah, I agree. See, the community things is also a little bit divided. What will be increased in price first? Is it gonna be Game Pass? Is it gonna be games? Jason Max says Redfall and Starfield will already be $70. So raise game prices. Dave Ramos absolutely thinks Game Pass is gonna be the thing that where the prices rise first. Siki also thinks Game Pass, but yeah, people have different thoughts on this, and we shall see, man. We shall see. Listen, I also want to talk about something else than the Phil Spencer interview, because I was actually excited about a news drop this week about Dragon Age. I actually have no idea where you stand with the IP, because it's been so long since we have gotten a Dragon Age, talked about Dragon Age in the gaming community. That I wanna know. Are you actually a Dragon Age fan, man?
I've never really got into the Dragon Age games previously. Never really got into them. But it doesn't say I'm not going to be interested to see what they bring out, because there's always
I recommend Inquisition.
Always an opportunity for new versions of a game, new directions, etc. to pull us in. It's not that I haven't tried them, because I have. What I played previously didn't excite me enough to keep me in the game. So I hope what they do with the next one is enough to entice me to stick around. Put it that way.
Yeah, I hope so too. I do hope so too, because it's really good. I like the franchise. I know a lot of hardcore Dragon Age fans didn't like Inquisition, but I thought it was a really good game. So naturally, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what Dreadnought, Dragon Age, Dreadwolf, pardon me, Dragon Age Dreadwolf will be like. BioWare released an update, a lengthy blog post, where they basically confirmed that the game is now playable from beginning to end. They said we can experience the entire game from the opening scene of the first mission to the very end. We can hear, feel, and play everything as a cohesive experience. They want to optimize now the pacing, mission things like interactions in between characters, stuff like that. But in general, the game is playable and they are on good track. They said they want to bring this game out next year. So yeah, do you think that's a realistic target when you hear where they are right now in development?
Yeah, I think they're on track. I think the good thing about the words "on track" for me is that it doesn't guarantee.
Yeah.
It's not to say this will absolutely come out, but as it stands right now, we're on timeline essentially. Of course, anything can happen between what happens right now and release or release window for that they're aiming for. The good thing is for me is that they're not giving a definitive time, as I would ask any developer, to be honest, unless you're absolutely crystal clear that you're going to release that game at that date, then don't mention it. So if they're just saying, yeah, we're still on target for next year, good, leave it at that. If next year it happens to change and you say, yeah, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to push it back to 2024 and then potentially say, but we're confident of hitting Q1 24, so it's going to come out in spring. And then you've got a good time frame then that you say, right, okay, so we know why and this is X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think having a realistic aim of next year is good. There's also a lot of things that could factor into the decision whether or not to continue with 2023 as a release window. The crowding could be a factor. People might not think about that, but and yes, they obviously want paid on the project that they're creating, because of course, let's face it, there's only so much you can do and so much time you can wait before releasing a game until it starts to be a financial loss, even before it's hit the shelves. So you need to they need to balance those things, but at the same time, what they don't want to do is put it out in a space where it's that packed full of other games.
Yeah, but that's got to be really challenging next year.
Yeah.
To find a place where it's not packed. Actually, I wonder why we still haven't seen the game, honestly. And that goes not just for Dragon Age, that actually goes for almost all these EA games, because they didn't have a showcase this year in any way, shape, or form. We know that also that they have Star Wars coming, Jedi. What's the sequel of Fallen Order called? Survivor. Jedi Survivor is coming, and we haven't seen that. We haven't seen Dragon Age. We haven't seen any of the other of the BioWare games or the EA games, and I wonder why that is. Why they haven't decided to just show us something. At the very beginning of the year, they said that they're gonna show Dragon Age and Jedi Survivor this year, and we haven't seen that. So there's still the chance, of course, of the Game Awards. That's when they teased the first the Dragon Age Dreadwolf in the first place. So you think we might get lucky and see that game at the Game Awards?
It could be. You never know. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
Stranger things have happened. Yeah, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Like I say, the key thing for me, the key takeaway all the time for me, is simply just I just hope that the game is good, and for developers themselves, specifically as you mentioned, kind of next year, it's been absolutely packed. There's a lot of games, I think, under community pressure, they don't want to show off too early because they've seen what happens specifically with the community and how toxic it can be with some of the feedback they get, despite it, like huge letters at the bottom of these things these days saying like not final, like representative of final quality. Even that doesn't stop them these days, and they'll still slate something that you're working on. And what they don't want when they've got the build up to launch or build up to the unveiling is to show something that they're going to get slated on, even though it's not final produce. They want it to be as good as it can be. So I think they're just hesitant. And a lot of developers are like that. A lot of developers are very hesitant, and it's not just EA games either. There's quite a few are very hesitant to show off what they're working on until they're absolutely sure that they need to show it off at the moment. So yeah, I think there's always a possibility. Game Awards could bring anything.
Yeah, sure. The Game Awards will be very interesting this year, honestly, because a lot of publishers haven't shown much. Ubisoft didn't show too much. I mean, they have a Assassin's Creed coming early next year, and we haven't seen it in action. Obviously, Xbox didn't show anything outside of that 12-month window. PlayStation didn't have anything in terms of showcases, and so yeah, it's definitely gonna be a very interesting Game Awards this year. But yeah, let's move on to the final topic of the week. And I haven't seen a lot of people talk about this, and that is Discord. Discord on consoles. We have heard this week that it is probably gonna come a little bit later this year, which, I mean, the year isn't too long anymore, to PlayStation as well, and that it's got it is getting a significant improvement on Xbox, because right now you have like this it's not a two-factor authentication, but you kind of have to log in on your phone and then transition over to the voice chat on console, and it's kind of a hassle, and they're getting rid of that. And it's also going to come to console. So my question to you is, man, do you think it's good to get that now on the consoles properly included? Are you going to use it, or do you think like Discord on console, who cares? Because, well, we have party chat there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it absolutely. I'm going to try it out. We have party chat, but I think the benefit of Discord on consoles and Discord on every console and every platform means that every gamer, regardless and irrespective of where they game, can be in a party with each other.
Yeah,
you can be on PlayStation. Hopefully, we'll eventually see a form of it come on Nintendo Switch, but I doubt it. But PC, and of course, if you're like us and you're content creators and you've got this awesome community Discord, you're able to jump into the Discord voice chats, which means you can have many more people in there and in a party than you would be able to via a regular party on here, which I think is limited to 16 people. So it brings so many benefits. It's just a case of, will those benefits outweigh the negatives? And that's, of course, some of the authentication issues and things like that. But I think once they've got that all lined out, I think the benefits should outweigh the negatives.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Discord is a massive platform, and like you said, even especially when we talk about things like crossplay, where you just play then with people on PC, or hopefully in the future even more often also on PlayStation, like Call of Duty. Yeah, when Xbox owns them, crossplay everywhere, and you have that unified voice chat. Like you said, Switch is a mess right now. I mean, Switch players are already used to using their phones for party chat. That's literally how the Nintendo thing for a voice chat actually works. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Although I have to say, I have a little beef with Discord at the moment. My Discord account, I had a real problem with it. Like, I had the two-factor authentication on, and they locked me out on my PC and my phone simultaneously. And so I wasn't able to log in because, like, how the two-factor authentication works, obviously, is you log in on your console, or pardon me, on your PC, and then they send you a code to your phone, or vice versa. But when you're logged out simultaneously, you're out for good, and that's what happened. I had to delete my Discord account, and then you have a waiting period before you can reopen with your email address another Discord account, and that waiting period is now over, so I can actually finally now create a new one. But it was really a hassle, so don't use two-factor authentication on Discord, guys. Just my advice. It was a mess. Yeah, man, but that brings us to the end of the show, and that means it's time for our community questions. All right. Man, yeah, this week's community question comes in from Siki. He asks, hey guys, I don't believe we should support these 30 FPS games like Gotham Knights and A Plague Tale. I personally hope they flop. To me, if they succeed, publishers, devs would be fine with launching games at only 30 FPS. What do you guys think?
I don't hope any game flops, to be honest. As bad as it is, I would never wish a game to flop just because it's 30 frames a second. No, and that's nothing against Siki either. But personally, no, I would never want a game to not do well just because of its performance capabilities. I would hope they'd be able to fix it and fix whatever issue it is that kept them at 30 frames. But no, I just want that game to. I want those games to be awesome, and Plague Tale, regardless of its 30 frames, is an absolutely amazing game. If you haven't played it, I would definitely recommend go out and playing it.
Yeah, it is. It really is an amazing game, a fantastic game. Yeah, I'm a little harder on these 30 FPS things probably than you are, because I agree to the sense that we shouldn't reward the devs do that. On the other hand, devs do worse than that. As like, I rather have a 30 FPS game that is finished, than release those broken, bug-riddled games at 60 FPS. Of course, if you have like both bugs and 30 FPS, then it becomes an issue. But I agree, Dutch, with you. I don't wish any game to fail per se, but I also want to make it clear towards the developers that it is not okay to release those games on the consoles at 30 FPS, especially when you charge less for the game on PC and the lower PC specs than the consoles. The minimum specs give you still fixed 60 FPS, and you can not get it on console, even though the console is significantly more powerful than the minimum spec on PC. That's also really not okay. And we also have to think the game developers at the end are not charity. They are literally charging us for our money. And I think we can demand that we want state-of-the-art technology if they charge us 70 bucks. So, I mean, yeah, I get it. Not 30 FPS, 40 or 60 FPS aren't as important to anyone in the same way. Yeah, but to me they are, because I still think it's what makes this gen so special. That we finally get to where the PC has been for years, and that's the thing. PC has had those 60 FPS on almost every game for years now, and console gamers deserve the same. So yeah, good stuff, man. Good stuff. But yeah, man, with that, I already want to bring this week's World of Gaming to an end. What a week we had. We had the special episode on Tuesday with the interview of Keoken. We had today an amazing show. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who showed up. Of course, a big thank you again for all the super chats and the support that you guys throw our way. It truly means a lot and helps a lot. So thank you guys for that. Next week, we will be back, of course, with our World of Gaming on Thursday, and we will have Mav from Fun Speculation here as a guest next week. Can't wait to have him back on. It's been way too long since we had a chat with him. So that's going to be a fun one. But other than that, Dutch, let people know what you have coming up.
Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's been fun. Of course, you've got your dedicated Age of Empires podcast today. So, the World of Age of Empires podcast. But yeah, great conversations, Boxy, as always. Loved, of course, the conversations with Kyoken on Tuesday. It was great stuff. And of course, looking forward to doing more of them in the future as well if we can. But yeah, everyone can find me, of course, everywhere at Wondering Dutch. Later on this evening, midnight release for Call of Duty. Might do a live stream of that as well, just to celebrate the old times of midnight releases and have some fun with a few multiplayer matches.
Sweet.
Then, of course, you can find me on YouTube at Wondering Dutch, the home of the Midweek Mix-Up podcast, every Wednesday and Sunday, and Sea of Tuesdays playcast on Tuesdays. But yeah, that's it.
Sweet, man. Thanks again for hosting here with me again. It's always fun. Again, thanks to everyone in the community. It's been a great show. Had a lot of great discussions also in the chat. Yeah, guys. Thanks again for tuning in. I see you guys next week. And don't forget to game on.